Okay, Chris Dardzinski, U.S. Taxpayers Party of Michigan, candidate, 13th Congressional District, and my web link below, www.leadership1776.com. Please go to my website. A lot of detailed proposals there, guidelines, outlines, um, recommendations on how and what I can work on in Congress. Please take the time to review it all. I spent a lot of time putting that together, and a lot of thought, and a lot of practical constitutional thinking. Today, I want to talk about the deep state. Um, it's a real thing. It's a great catchphrase. It's sexy and all that, but it is a very real thing, and you choose to accept that fact or not. I would peg the deep state's origin all the way back to the Eisenhower administration with two brothers who were appointed to key positions. John Foster Dulles, appointed Secretary of State, and his brother Allen Dulles, appointed Director of Central Intelligence. Allen Dulles, of course, got far more press, so I don't know if that's fair or not. Very capable brothers, very smart men. They were international lawyers with a lot of clients around the world. They understood the world very good. They understood the relationships of the world. They understood how the world worked. And for the most part, if you look at their record, they served the Eisenhower administration well. So, but I'm talking about where things actually begin and a tone begins to change within Washington, D.C. with the size and scope of the U.S. federal government and on the world stage, and this new attitude of we can manage the world, we are smarter than working class and middle class and lower class citizens, and we know better than you. It's a dangerous attitude to take, especially if you have an Ivy League law degree. So, and I guess I've beaten up on Ivy League law degree recipients for a very long time, and I probably will continue to do that. So the government starts to get larger. Kennedy administration, Department of Health, Welfare, and Education. Education gets split off, and over a 10-year period becomes its own cabinet level department, so forth and so on. Energy department is created. Subcommittees are blooming and flourishing like springtime flowers in Congress. Everything's becoming larger. The government just grows and grows and grows as the government facilitates more programs and starts giving more aid to more people, and then more programs, and the government's going to do this for you and that for you, and it just continues and continues and continues. At a certain point, the federal government gets to a size, as with any government, where the only thing it can do is sustain itself. And you have career people who work in the government for so long that they start to bring in their key people and make sure that proper jobs are offered to the proper people of the same mindset, and things keep on being sustained. Everybody stays in agreement that, okay, well, this federal program's not working so well, but this federal program is sustaining 200 people within the State Department. So it doesn't really matter if the program works or not, and no one's really means testing it because there's not enough leaders in Congress to do proper oversight, and Congress is so distracted by all the silly stuff that they do with political activism and everybody shouting and yelling and being angry at each other, that our 200-person office is just going to continue, and doesn't matter that the program hasn't been means tested in 20 years. You see what I'm saying? So in that many, many different layers, then you start to develop groups within groups, and people who start to carry out their own policies and their own ideas on how things should be ran. And since control at the very top of the departments is switching back between Republicans and Democrats every 4 or 8 years, and everything just continues to grow, and all these people have their jobs, and then some of them peel off and they go into the private sector or into think tanks and like that, and then they circle back around to government the next time the administration of their particular political ideology gets power in the White House again. Things keep on growing, and people build long-term relationships to protect each other. And I bring in your kid, you bring in my kid, I get a job for your cousin, so forth and so on. And the civil service laws protect all the employees in the federal government who are not productive, but we want to keep them in there because they help sustain the bureaucracy and they sustain the numbers of any individual office. And so it doesn't matter if the government is efficient or not, as long as the government sustains itself. So at a certain point, the voter has to sit back and think, do I want this to continue? Does the federal government really need 2.2 million civil servant employees? And the answer is no. With all the research and studying of government budgets that I've done over the years, I can tell you flat out, without hurting Social Security and Medicare and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And you could actually increase the number of ships and planes and soldiers that are needed within the military and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. You could do all that and you could still cut out 10% of the federal government's budget because of the amount of waste. No one's really paying attention to all the purchasing officers and the contracts that they're awarding and how much they're overbid, and everything that is built into the 16, 20, 29, 49, 50, 100 layers of details within those contracts, and how everybody's getting padded all along the way. But it's only the taxpayers' money, so no one really gives a damn. And you're insulating all the people that are supporting you within the private sector and within academia, and all the awards that go out for contracts and everything else that goes out for research grants that have nothing to do with the enumerated powers granted to the federal government, but money just being shoveled out left and right. So that is how the deep state becomes what it is. And these people gain more power over federal guidelines and more control over your life. And Republicans and Democrats maintain 99.9% of the political power. However, it divides up between them, 46% for this party, 53% for that party, and then it switches back and forth. And people keep on voting for the same two political parties, and the deep state continues on and on and on and on. Now, I think deep down inside, if everybody watching this sets aside their emotions, sets aside their feelings, don't mind the semi-truck outside. If everybody sets aside their feelings and employs rational, logical, critical thinking, every word I said, you know it's true. It's not true because I say it's true. It's true because it's empirically true. This is empirical truth. And there's empirical evidence to back it up. And at the end of the day, it really has very little to do with political ideology. The role of the deep state in the federal government is to sustain itself. And how do you weed all that out? Well, you need to have capable people and leaders within Congress and the White House, but since I'm running for Congress, we'll focus on that. So it takes a lot of work to get the federal government back inside the Constitution. We agree the federal government should be back inside the Constitution, right? I can get an amen. Everybody's raising their hands and saying, hell yeah, Chris, get the federal government back inside the Constitution. So you have a choice. You can elect leaders like myself who are willing to do that work, capable of doing that work, have specific ideas, plans, and recommendations on how to go about doing that work, and will fight to do that work. Or you can vote for Republicans and Democrats. So, remember, we're talking about the 13th Congressional District here, okay? That's what I'm focusing on.